It's Hyp3r Halloween.
Time for a little social commentary with today's deranged killer movie. Today's film is the Swedish horror film Evil Ed. It's a film that appears to make a commentary about violence in cinema by making a violent, gory movie. Kind of like the video game Harvester in a way. Although I'm not entirely sure if its goal is to say violence in movie causes violence in real life, or if the creators were trying to protest a regulation that was prevalent in Sweden at the time. I can't find anything solid about this point, except on sites like IMDb, which is probably as bad as citing Wikipedia. Regardless, Evil Ed is a violent horror film that's a bit all over the place. Either way, let's talk about the story of this violent movie. The film starts with a film editor committing suicide. So right off the bat. In any case, the head of the splatter and gore department of the distribution company tasks our protagonist Ed to take his place. Ed is tasked with editing a movie called Loose Limbs, which is apparently a movie from a series of splatter films from the Evil Ed universe. Ed is given permission to use his boss's cottage to finish the editing. The cottage is isolated, and it removes all distractions for Ed so he can get the job done. Given he's isolated and is watching the most depraved things ever, Ed begins to lose his sanity as he edits the film, though. The combination of violent images and isolation seems to twist his mind. He starts seeing things that aren't there, such as demons and monsters. Ed's boss ends up checking in on Ed, and Ed kills him thinking that he's a demon. Several other people pop up at the cottage as well, such as co-workers that are delivering more film for Ed to edit, burglars, and Ed's wife and daughter. As one can expect from a man losing his mind, he sees all these people as monsters and attacks them. Ed's wife, Barbara, ends up shooting Ed with one of the burglar's guns. Ed is taken to a psych ward, and he continues his rampage there. The movie pretty much continues this way until the cops are called to stop Ed. So, Evil Ed itself is definitely gory. I didn't do it justice with my synopsis, but it is pretty gruesome. Gore and violence by themselves do not make a good movie though, and if you were to remove the gore and violence, Evil Ed is a little disappointing. Evil Ed feels honestly pretty disjointed at times, especially with the switch from the cottage setting to the psych ward. This is probably because the original ending for the movie was intended to be the scene where Barbara shoots Ed. Apparently there were more scenes with Barbara that were removed as well, which leads to even more confusion. One thing Evil Ed has going for it though, is the amazing practical effects. Everything from the demons and monsters to the gore looks amazing. These practical effects are the main selling point of the movie for me. The humor is also really good throughout the film. We get glimpses into what Ed is editing, and the names of the films always made me chuckle. Evil Ed has a lot of references to other horror films throughout the movie as well. Well, mostly a lot of references to Evil Dead, but, it's an isolated cottage in the woods that makes sense. In addition to that, Barbara's probably a clear nod to Night of the Living Dead. One more thing I'd like to mention is that the movie is dubbed in English, and the dub is actually pretty good. I'm not a big fan of dub movies, but the English voice actors here did a great job. For what it's worth though, Evil Ed is a decent horror film that will keep your attention throughout, even with it being a bit disjointed. The humor is good, as are the practical effects. I definitely recommend checking this one out if you haven't already.